Welcome to Climate Quickies, bite-sized nuggets of climate goodness from our TEDxLondon experts in under 5 minutes.
In this week's Climate Curious, recorded live at TED, we sent our intrepid producer Josie Colter out onto the water on a boat. Today's guest, Daylin Frantin, is working to electrify leisure boats, bringing zero carbon energy to the seas. This means less air and water pollution and less noise pollution. Because just like people don't want smelly exhaust pipes on their roads, it turns out fish, birds and sea life don't want gas in their waters. Over to Daylin to share more about the project. Stay curious.
So hello, Climate Curious. Josie here on an electric boat built by Flux Marine. And I'm here with some sea captains who are going to chat us through this incredible climate action boat. So yeah, over to you. Can you tell us who you are, what you do, and what we're doing today on this boat?
Absolutely. So I'm Daylin. So what we do at Flux Marine is we work with hull manufacturers. We build battery packs, outboard motors, and we electrify boats. So our mission is that every boat under 25 feet for the next 5 years should be electric, and thereafter hope to expand to higher horsepower stuff.
Amazing. And I was just chatting with your co-founder, Jonathan, and he was telling me about, he was a rower and noticed how the boats were really polluting and thought there must be a better way. But can you tell me the kind of story of how you got into this sort of work? Was it through boating? Was it through climate? Yeah, what was your route in?
Yeah, I think the three of us all have a very similar story. It's a mixture of boating experience and then also just consciousness about the environment. So, we all grew up on the water in some way or another. John through rowing. Ben and I grew up together actually in upstate New York, so the opposite side of the continent. But we pretty much just experienced all the pain points surrounding combustion outboard motors. And they were constantly breaking. They required a lot of maintenance. Of course, the fuel is expensive. And with the electric revolution that was happening in the auto industry, thought that we could bring a lot of that technology to marine and solve a lot of our issues, create some better experiences out on the water.
Cool. So then can you talk to me about how this boat is built, what makes it better than a regular boat, and tell us a little bit about how it works and the climate impacts of that.
So this boat, once again, is a roughly 20-foot rigid inflatable. You might see a boat like this being used by a family in a coastal environment similar to Vancouver. It makes a really great tender boat. So a boat that would take you back and forth to your bigger boat, or if you just don't feel like firing up your larger boat, you have this boat to run about in. And a variety of other use cases, related to coaching for sailing. So it's super versatile. And then once again, what we do is we build the outboard motor and the battery pack. So we don't build the boat. So we're boat agnostic. So we have put our outboard battery pack, throttle control system on a variety of different boats. We've put it on pontoon boats, if you're familiar with those, that you might see up on a lake, kind of look like floating patio living rooms. We have put them on center consoles, dual consoles. So really going after the largest market opportunity so we could create the largest impact. So in terms of impact, what we're really solving here, pain points of the customers, it's really that scheduled maintenance aspect, right? It takes a lot to keep a boat in the water, working day in, day out, all summer, year to year. It requires winterization every single year, dewinterization every single year. You're constantly flushing the outboard motor. And that's what's so exciting about what we do and really our ground up approach. Building everything in-house is we could get rid of things that just don't make sense when you shift to electric, right? So similar to how Tesla took that approach of building a car from the ground up, right? Instead of just putting batteries in a trunk and losing all your trunk space. So we did that, and what that allows us to do is build a system that doesn't ingest seawater. So you no longer have to flush your outboard between uses. You aren't, ingesting corrosive seawater and running that through your most sensitive power electronics, which, even if you do flush it, reduces the lifespan of, the components that are in your outboard. It's silent. It doesn't, contaminate the water with unburned fuel that most outboards actually just release into the water. So one last comment on fumes is, of course, there's no through-hub exhaust. We're not releasing fumes into the atmosphere. Boats are extremely polluting. They still don't have catalytic converters, which were required in cars in the 80s. So it's really an overlooked segment that has a really, really big impact. So we're happy to electrify mobility on the waterfront.
Your colleague who brought me down to the boat, he told me there's this saying that boaters say, which is the best moment in your life is buying the boat and selling your boat. So can you tell me about that and explain to our listeners who are not boaters what that's about?
That is true. Yes, that's something that people often do say. They also say that boat stands for bust out another 1,000. So it's extremely expensive. Ben Log. It's extremely expensive to maintain a boat. It's not just about that upfront acquisition, purchase, transaction of buying a boat or selling a boat. It's the operational cost that's a killer, and it's the time, really. So, when most people say that, it's because of it's labor intensive. It's all of the care that goes into keeping themselves out on the water and just to make it in time for the boating season. So boating is not often something that people just, haphazardly get into. You really have to be passionate about it to do it year after year. And I think that's why we see the emergence of other solutions to get people out on the water, like shared boat clubs and, groups that basically just solve the pain point of maintenance for people, and people are willing to spend the extra money to do that. So it's something that our technology definitely bridges the gap between, helps to solve, and hopefully brings more people into boating and grows the category as well, and makes it more sustainable for people to be out here on the water. I think that lends itself to who we're actually servicing in this industry. Nobody needs a boat, right? Unless it's their profession, and especially in the recreational market. $105,000 purchase is really the decision between a sports car or a boat, right? It's not, do I just buy a $20,000 thing that I get to enjoy? So that consumer segment has been extremely responsive and excited about the value proposition that we bring, and it's a price that's tasteful, digestible, and it really starts to make sense when you own a boat and you understand the costs and the really the hassle and the headache that surround it, right?
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to this quickie.
This episode was created by our superstar podcast team at TEDxLondon. Until next time,
Stay curious.